One, two, one, two. All right, let's roll.
Welcome. You're listening to the Saddle Up Podcast,
where we discuss everything related to UTRGV athletics, past or present. We'll catch up with old teammates, friends, and take you down memory lane
with exclusive interviews.
This is the Saddle Up Podcast,
the voice of your covered walkway streets.
So dope.
This is gonna be awesome.
Stay tuned for new episodes every week.
From Bronx Village to the Fieldhouse,
we'll cover it all.
Hell yeah, dude. Carpe damn.
So saddle up and let's go.
Let's go. Saddle up, partner.
All right, guys. Welcome to another episode of Saddle Up Podcast. I have the distinct pleasure to welcome Coach Lon Kruger to the show. And obviously we got G in the house, but Coach Kruger, thank you so much for joining the show this week. I can't tell you enough what it means for you to be on the show. So thank you.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate the opportunity. Anytime I get the chance to relive and rethink those memories from the old Pan Am days, the Valley days, it's a pleasure. We, my wife Barb and I had a great time and still maintain some contact with folks down there and just a terrific experience.
Well, Coach, I know G is like chomping at the bits because I know he wants to ask you so many questions. You're an idol of his. But I went down the rabbit hole this weekend doing research and stuff. And I just want to say how, you were all conference Big 8 player of the year, I believe, at Kansas State. So you were a hell of a player in your own right. But then you take the coaching route. And then you amass over 600 plus wins in the NCAA and coaching the NBA and everything, right? And so what was it that drew you to your first gig when you were an assistant at Kansas State to Pan Am? Like, why go from Manhattan, Kansas to Edinburgh, Texas? Like, what was it for you?
Like a lot of assistant coaches, you always aspire to get that head coaching opportunity. And I was very fortunate having played for Coach Hartman at Kansas State and then being his assistant for 4 or 5 years, just a terrific foundation there. But when the Pan Am job came available, I was 28 years old, so extremely young. And Brad Rothermel actually is another friend that encouraged me to look at that opportunity. And I did that. Yeah. And President Nevada's and Judge Hinojosa and those were people that was instrumental on the committee and of course had that opportunity and got the job and just again that was kind of the beginning of it all from a coaching standpoint and forever indebted to President Nevada's and Coach Hinojosa for sure or judging yeah.
Well, you and another legend came in kind of around the same time, a guy by the name of Jim Lancaster, right? So
yeah, Jim was there, every guy, and was there a long time and did a great job, and I'm sure he has a lot of good stories as well.
Yeah, Jim's a fan of the show. We had him on in season 1, and he obviously sung your praises as well. So, G, I know you're in awestruck right now. So what do you?
That first question was such a great question. I'm just in awe. Like, just let me just bathe in this, this experience for a little bit. But Coach Kruger, awesome. Just like Matt said, it's so special to have you on the podcast. And this is this is kind of like when we look at guests and we kind of look at the list of guests. I would have never imagined when we first were looking through this during COVID, we kind of made this podcast up in COVID and what we wanted to do that Coach Lon Kruger would be on the it's awesome.
Well, thanks. Appreciate it. It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. And again, like I say, those 4 years there, such good memories. My wife and I, we had, Kevin, our son, was actually born in Wesco in the hospital there.
Wow.
Valley, and our daughter Angie's 3 years older than Kev, so she was just a couple of years old when we moved to the Valley. And again, just a great experience and terrific people.
I did not know that Kevin was born in Wesco. When y'all were living in Wesco, were you living in I'm not living in Wesco. When you were coaching in the Valley, were you living in Edinburgh or were you living in McAllen? Like where exactly were you at?
On the edge of, on the near edge of McAllen.
Okay.
So, and again, after coming back years later, between when we were there, between McAllen and Edinburgh, it was all orange groves, and we come back a few years later, and wow, that's grown up so much.
Oh yeah. Now you were there, right?
How long? Yeah. How often do you visit?
Not as much as we'd like to, but I think the most recent time was when Coach Hill passed.
Oh yes.
Years ago, and again the dedication of the new pavilion there. Excited about that in Coach Hill's memory. So and Coach Hill's wife Renee still lives there, so talk to her frequently, and still a big fan. And now the Vaqueros, I guess.
Yeah. We're getting a football team too, Coach.
And a football team coming on.
You should come down next fall. You be a guest at
first game. Yeah. Would love that. Would love that. It's football in Texas, of course. That should be a good fit, hopefully.
Well, you got your season tickets? No, probably. Yeah. Not yet. Okay.
So, Coach, let me ask you. You were named in '82 as the coach, right, in March, and then I was going through this rabbit hole, and the list of players that you coached against is phenomenal, right? Like you coached against Karl Malone at La Tech, like the first game opening of your career at Pan Am, and in front of like 4,400 people, and you're playing. I mean, obviously he wasn't the mailman then, but like you're coaching Karl Malone. Years later, when you're in Atlanta and you're the head coach, do you bring that up to him or like in the hallways? Because there's a list of couple of guys on here like Steve Kerr. Like, do you bring that up to them? Like, hey, we beat you, you know?
Well, that comes up. I don't know about the beating part, but I think it was our first game that we held Carl. I think he was a freshman, I believe, at that time. I think we held him to 30 or 32 or whatever. But we held him. We started his mailman career for sure.
He delivered.
So piggybacking on that, Coach, what player would be kind of the most memorable or your favorite player that you went up against when you were coaching at UTPA, or maybe player or game?
I don't know that, again, at that time, we didn't know Carl was going to become Carl later on, but we knew he was awfully good. We didn't have bodies to match up with him. And, what a great career he had. And now it was so good. Again, we weren't in a conference, so we had the opportunity to schedule. And like you say, we went out and played Arizona in Tucson, and a lot of good matchup. DePaul, I remember coming to town, and they had a terrific team there in the 82, 83 era. They had great teams under Coach Meyer, and again, most of those were learning experiences. I don't know that many of them. We did win at Arizona, I guess. That was a nice win, but most of them were more learning experiences than victories.
I want to ask you about the UNO game when you're coaching against Michael. Like, how was that when because you coached against him in his collegiate career, obviously, right? But then when you're again in Atlanta, you coach against him, and now he's Michael Jordan. What was the? Could you see those early years that he was going to be that great, or he was just kind of like another wing player for a really powerhouse team with.
He was curious. He was pretty good at that time for sure. I don't know that anyone could have projected being maybe the best ever at that point, but we were actually playing against North Carolina in a tournament in Tulsa. And, we played Oral Roberts the first night, and I think North Carolina played Tulsa, I believe, and we got beat by Oral Roberts, so we're figuring we're going to play Tulsa the next night, but they upset Carolina. So we're playing North Carolina after they're ticked off after a loss in the consolation game. And I remember at halftime, or just shortly after halftime, Coach Smith came down, and we were down about 40. And he said, Coach, Lon, you want us to play man or zone? What do you want us to do here these last?
What do you want to
15
practice?
He was very kind and very considerate. And I said, play zone, Coach, so we can hold it a while and use up a little clock. So, yeah, those are great. It's Sam Perkins and they had they had a pretty good team around Michael for sure.
Yeah, that was the year the previous year they won the whole thing, right? That was like Mike's sophomore year, I believe. So that's insane. And then second year you're there, you end up beating Steve Kerr in Arizona. Like I believe it was were y'all in Arizona or was it a tournament?
I think that's one of Coach Olson's early years.
Yeah,
He took the Arizona job, so they're it was just a guarantee. I think they might have even come back to Pan Am. I think it was a 2-for-1
deal.
Deal. We went out there a couple times and
yes, sir,
came back to Pan Am, and it was a good win. That was a good win for us. And guys, I know remember the excitement in the locker room after that. Those spontaneous celebrations after wins like that are probably the most enjoyable part, or one of the most enjoyable parts of coaching, to see the satisfaction and joy on your players' faces to pull up like that. And those celebrations are pretty good.
Well, you took over a program.
Did they do the tortilla toss back when you were coaching the way they did when we played?
I don't remember the tortilla toss, but I was probably locked in on some other things.
Take a program that you inherited that went 5-20 something the year before, and then your first year was your first year, but then subsequently after 4 years you end up walking away and you left it with 20 wins and I believe 8 losses, right? Like that's a huge accomplishment. Like that's kudos to you for that and the hard work.
It was a fun transition. The guys they worked hard. We kind of had people from all over, from junior college, from high school, some kids in the Valley and across the country, and they meshed well together. But that last year, of course, really good group with Kevin Johnson now coaching at Southern.
We're going to bring up Coach.
Yeah. Coach Johnson's great, and Joe Johnson, was probably a key guy in that transition, because he came in with a great work ethic and a great attitude, and that group kind of meshed well together and got up to that 20 win mark.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, you recruited 2 guys that are kind of influential in our lives, right? You brought them in as freshmen. One, obviously, you just mentioned was Coach Kevin Johnson, right? We know him as Coach, but Kevin Johnson, and then another guy by the name of Roy Swift, right? And so, tell us kind of what was it about their game that really that you thought they could mesh well with the program and the building that you were doing, the foundation of what you were establishing there at Pan Am?
Yeah, they're both good workers. They both battled and competed every day, and they were very much bought into doing whatever they needed to do to help the team win. And of course, as and they were both talented guys as well. But when you combine that talent with the right attitude and the passion for team first type attitudes and team first goals, then you got a chance. And Kevin and Roy both were cut out of that same mold. And again, you had Joe Johnson to it, and Art Castillo was had a great attitude.
Art Castillo,
Art Castillo, yes, sir.
Really good guys.
Now your first year, you had 2 guys on your staff, right? I wouldn't say they were on your staff, but they were around the program, right? One was a guy by the name of Robert Kirby. He was a GA, and obviously Kerr played at Pan Am years before, gets on the staff, and now has had a great career as a coach, an assistant coach in college. And then another guy by the name of Kelly Bass, who I know, but he went on to become a scout in the NBA for a long time. Tell us about Kirby. Like, how was he? Like, what you saw in him to give him, because that was kind of his first opportunity as well to cut his teeth in the coaching ranks. So what about Kirby that kind of stood out?
Well, we're fortunate to kind of inherit those guys, because they, like you say, they were there, and we basically just retained them. And obviously with their experience in the Valley and the program, that's always invaluable. And coming in from outside the Valley, we're learning every day. And those guys had experience. So it was great. It was great. And I see more Robert than Kelly, but to see Robert, over the last years, every summer in the recruiting road and had a terrific career and again was instrumental in helping us get our feet on the ground there in the Valley.
That's awesome.
Well, Coach, do you, it's one of these things where, I coached for a while and I'm not doing it this last 5 years. Do you miss it? How much do you miss it every day?
Parts of it for sure. We did it for 47 years. So, that's a long time to do one thing, but we miss the relationship side of it, the time with the coaching staff, miss more than, not the games as much as the preparation for the season in September, October, the practices, putting the team together and individual roles and how you're going to mesh, 12, 13 guys, really good players into one unit. So that part was always the most challenging, the most intriguing and the most enjoyable. You get into the games and all of a sudden, a lot of, then you got playing time, you've got, the fans, you got other things involved there.
All the headaches.
The preparation for the year, probably missed more than anything else. Again, their staff, we had lunch together every day and we, of course, watched tape in preparation for practice and the upcoming opponent. So miss that relationship with the staff as well.
Yeah. September. It always happens. It always starts happening around September, October. Just those. It starts flowing again. You start missing it. You start seeing all these teams preparing. Talking to the coaches. Doing their preseason planning and recruiting and all that.
Wow, that's exactly right. Well, it used to be October 15th. I don't know. You guys may be. Younger than that, but last few years, now I think the first day of practice this year is September 27th. So all that changed over the years. October 15th was a magic day, and always look forward to that a lot.
What are you doing? What are you doing right now to kind of scratch that itch a little bit?
More than anything else, I don't know about the coaching itch. Of course, Coach, our son Kevin is the coach at UNLV, so we have the opportunity to cheer on his program and drop by practice. So whenever I'm not busy with he's got two little girls, ages 4 and 2. So I hook up with them anytime I possibly can. And if I'm not with them, then I may slip by practice and just watch and cheer them on.
That's fantastic.
Man, what an asset.
I mean, got a Hall of Fame coach that's a babysitter. Like that's amazing, right?
Well, the babysitting is a fun part of it. Grandparent duty is pretty good for sure.
Yeah. Now, Coach. I mean, out of all the games that you coached in, wins or losses, regardless, is there one particular one particular game that stands out, whether it be at Pan Am or whether it be, in Illinois or Kansas State, wherever, just anywhere in the NBA, whatever. Is there one particular game that really stands out in your mind that you kind of reflect back and think about sometimes?
Yeah, well, it's hard to pick out one game. I think, like I mentioned earlier, anytime you have those, those last second wins, you make a shot, the students rush the court, the locker room's crazy. Anytime you have that, and I did have an experience like that, I guess, with our son at UNLV when, in the second round, we beat Georgia Tech in the first round of the NCAAs in Chicago. And then Wisconsin, the number 2 seed in the tournament in Chicago. So they got 16,000 Wisconsin people there. So we were able to beat them to go to the Sweet 16 and, celebrate that with your son and family and the guys in the locker room pretty excited about that one. But there's we've been fortunate to have a lot of good players and a lot of those fun memories for sure.
Oh, wow. I mean, you've probably forgotten more basketball than I've ever learned in my life. So just to hear you talk about it, like, is truly, it's a blessing. Like I could sit here and talk to you for hours, and we're not going to do that. But I just want to give you your flowers now because I've been a fan of yours for many years. And when I came to Pan Am, there was a gentleman by Lupe who we all know. He would always talk about, Coach Kruger did it this way. Coach Kruger did it this way.
That's right.
So
gosh, forget, those coaches were always, getting compared to Coach Kruger. He did
Lupe was great, wasn't he? He was he kind of did whatever the program needed and super supportive. The guys loved him. The players did, and certainly the coaches appreciated him because he made all of our jobs a little bit more enjoyable and a little bit more doable. So there's some.
Lupe was the man.
You start listing people like Judge Hinojosa.
Yes.
He was such a good guy, and at that time he wasn't a judge, of course, but remember him dropping by the house, and our daughter Angie was just 2-3 years old, and Judge Hinojosa was her favorite, and he was great to our family, and we always appreciated him as much. And when I got the job, stayed at President Navati's home for a while until I found a place. So that's how kind he was. He and Blanca, opened the doors, and we enjoyed that. And we'll get a chance to visit with either as often as I'd like, but certainly great memories and great people.
Well, I talked to, like I told you off camera, I talked to Judge Hinojosa yesterday. I told him that how blessed we were to have you, and he was like, tell him say hello, but he was like, this is, he's a great man, and I, obviously we love you, so thank you for
thank you. Thank you.
So Coach, I know Matt mentioned, your favorite game or most memorable game. What would be like your most memorable season? Like where you saw that, you kind of like you meshed this team together. Maybe it didn't, start off great, or maybe there were some, just how we go through ups and downs in the season. But kind of, what season would be the most that just stands out in your mind? Is it that same one that ended with that Wisconsin win, or?
Yeah, that was a good one. Every stop you probably have a team or two that I don't know if you say favorite, but maybe that you appreciate as much how they came together and how they maybe overcame. Our last team there at Pan Am at UTRGV. When Joe Johnson came in and joined, Kevin Johnson and Junior Ray and those guys really, really did a good job. Again, as an independent, it wasn't easy to win 20 ball games, and but that team, is certainly one that we remember and appreciate. And quite frankly, had we not done that, we'd not have had the opportunity to go back to our alma mater at Kansas State.
That's right.
That year coincided with Coach Hartman's retirement, and Coach Hartman had a lot to do with our being named his successor at Kansas State. But had we not won 20, it probably would have been harder for him. He might have still been able to, because he was such a powerful guy there.
I don't know if our listeners pick up on it, but I do. I love the way you always say we. Like it's not an I thing. It's not I don't know who you're referring to when you say we. I'm just assuming it's your family, or it's the players that helped you win the games to get the notoriety, that sort of thing. But I love how you speak when you say we, and it's just it's definitely a positive thing. So I just want to kind of point that out.
Yeah. Well, the we is a little bit of all of that, as you said. But we grew up in a household. I was super fortunate to have great parents, and I was the oldest of 6 kids. And Dad just had very few rules, but one of them is we never ever spoke about ourselves. And did this or I did that, and as I look back on it, that was a pretty valuable baseline, because again, it's always been we, and that's probably at the foundation of all of our programs in terms of speaking to the players, and as they address the media, and as we address the media, it's always about others, and always giving credit to others, and Mom and Dad was instrumental in instilling that in their 6 children.
Wow. Life lessons beyond coaching, huh? And everything that you can teach, right? Through coaching. Sure. You use it in life.
Yeah, well, coaching is more about relationships than it is X's and O's.
Yeah.
All the X's and O's have all worked, they've all failed, but it comes down to relationships and earning that trust and spending the time. There's no shortcut for time.
That's right.
Really want to find out about where people's interests lie, it's where they spend their time. Not about what they say or where they write the checks to, but where do they spend their time? And that's coaching is a big part of coaching as well.
I hope coaches watch this podcast. They got a little mini clinic right there on how to build a program with Coach Kruger.
That's it. That's how it's done right there. That's how it's done.
Now, speaking of Coach Kruger, you mentioned X's and O's. I wanted to kind of, throw a little fun question at you. with X's and O's, if you don't mind.
No, not at all.
All right. So you got Matt Palmquist, host of the show, 6'10", right? Played inside. Don't know if you ever watched him play, but didn't have much of a back to the basket type of a game, right?
Gee, I gave the Illini a double-double. I'm just gonna put that out there. I gave him a double-double. So yeah.
I don't know about that. Okay.
I remember Matt being the center of our scouting report when we brought the Illini to the Valley.
Yeah.
It didn't do us any good. He still up on us.
He did? Okay. Well, so you obviously never watched, any, my game because I wasn't on the floor, maybe a few minutes. But let's say you're down 2. Okay. 3 seconds left. Are you coming out of a timeout? Do you run a cross screen for Matt Palmquist? All right. You don't know me. I could shoot it. I could shoot it a little bit. Do you run a cross screen, try to get Matt the ball inside to tie the game? Or do you run a little elevator screen for G coming off top of the key, looking to hit the 3 to win the game?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I think he subs us both.
Seconds,
we're not in the game, are we, Coach?
We probably turn it over and go the other way, but I don't know. But we'd take either one of those options if we get a good look at the rim.
So you'll take So what's your view? Are you trying to go for the win, or are you trying to go inside, maybe a little bit, or does it depend on the player?
With 3 seconds, most importantly, you got to get up a shot. So it's probably going to be one pass and a shot, or probably throw it in and clear a lane for someone to attack the rim very quickly.
So you're saying if you're coaching Trae Young, your elevator screen for Trae, right? Top of the
if you got Trae, if you got Buddy Hield, you got those guys, you get it in their hands and trust them for sure.
You even had Austin Reeves for a hot second, right? He transferred.
We had Austin for 3 years. Yeah, one of which redshirted, and what a great year he had! Wow.
Yeah,
and he's so competitive, and he's a really, really good player. He moves the ball. The ball doesn't hang up with him. He makes good basketball plays. I think that's why he fit in so well, because in the NBA, everyone catches it and sees what they can do before they throw it to the next guy.
Yeah.
But Austin gets rid of the ball at the right time, and he was smart enough. He threw it to LeBron a lot, his rookie year, and that was a good decision too.
Yeah. So Coach, just another fun question. I got to ask it because one of our best friends is Mike Mencia, is LeBron's trainer, right? For years since LeBron entered the league, and
since 04,
you played against you watched Jordan become who he was. Coach, I'm gonna put you on the spot, and I told Mike that I would ask you this so that we can just nip this whole debate in the bud.
Yeah.
Greatest of all time, LeBron or Jordan?
You think this? What we say here is going to make that decision?
We don't have enough. Yeah, we don't have enough subscribers, Coach. It's not getting out there.
I don't think
go that far. From that era, of course. With Michael, certainly have an appreciation for it. But LeBron is, he's so big. I mean, people don't realize how big he is. I mean, Michael was good size, but he was a wing size, and LeBron's kind of a old school postman that can play point.
Like Karl Malone size, yeah,
exactly. That's hard to believe. He is Karl Malone size.
Yeah,
and I don't think you can go wrong there. But I was always a huge Michael fan for sure.
Mm-hmm. Oh man,
well, there goes.
Me too. And I know he gets upset at us, but we just got to. I can't disagree.
Yep.
Coach, this podcast is not going to make Sports Center, so you don't have to worry about this clip being on there. Right, so it might reach maybe 40 people. So you're good. Just say.
All right, fair enough.
Oh well, favorite places to eat when you were down in the Valley, if they're still open, or if you remember them, or because
I remember that there were a ton of great places. Now again, being almost 50 years ago, I don't know them. I don't know that I recall the names of a lot of those the mom and pop shops, family owned places. Wow. I know we loved going out. We loved the variety in the community, and even going across the border occasionally, good place.
So is it safe to say that the Mexican food is better down in the Valley than it is in Manhattan, Kansas?
I would favor the Valley. No question about that.
You heard it here. You heard it here first.
You heard it here first, right there.
No comparison for sure.
Oh well, Coach, I want to say thank you. We're running out of time, but Coach Kruger, thank you so much for being on the show and giving us your time and sharing the stories. And you are a true legend and an asset to the university. In the little time that you were there, you still left a huge mark. And you and Barbara had the foundation. And I just can't sing your praises enough. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Well, thank you. Appreciate anytime we have cause to think about those 4 years in the Valley. We appreciate that. So thanks, guys, for having me on.
Guys, Coach Kruger, you're welcome anytime.
Anytime, Coach.
Look forward
we can
to
go
it.
little basketball, chop it up, X's and O's, chalk talk a little bit.
Or we can talk about babysitting, whatever you want to talk about, we can do it too.
If you want to talk about grandkids, we're all in, so no problem.
Oh, wow. All right, Coach.
All right.
Coach
Thank
Kruger,
you.
thank you. And fees up, guys. We'll see you next week.
Peace up.
Thank you.
Like we weren't supposed to come up with something this clean, like something happened.